welcome to Paradelphia Radio. This is Rick Pruitt here at the Toxic Studios. Well, actually not the Toxic Studios. I'm in my studio going through the Toxic Studios, but I have Mr. Mike, Toxic Mike, online here, and he is at the Toxic Studios producing.
There we go. Can you hear me? Am I there?
I forgot where I was for a second, Mike.
Dude, with everything that's been going on between 2020 and 2021, there's many days where everybody that's listening to this right now forgets where they are, where they should be, where they have been on a daily basis. So I don't think anybody faults you on that one.
Where the hell am I?
Exactly. How many people literally wake up every morning saying that exact same thing with everything that's going on? It's been crazy. But you know what? We've been continuing with all of our shows and having a good time. And you know what? You've been continuing no matter what has happened. So it just shows people perseverance. Just keep going.
Keep going, man.
Even when you're wearing a Snuggie with a green screen.
Yeah. I'll get to this in a second. This is the shit right here. I don't care what anybody says. But I want to introduce our third here because we have a third tonight.
We do.
Our esteemed co-host from another mother, Mr. Doug Hogate.
What's been going on in 2020, 2021? Y'all keep talking about that shit, and I have no idea what you mean.
Well, I mean, you've been working 75 hours a day, so it's not unusual you wouldn't understand.
Yeah, you know, it's hey, whatever. But yes, I know it's like, you know, hey, whether in studio or here, either way. I tried to show up at Mike's doorstep with nothing but my, panties on, but he wouldn't open the door.
Doug, are you coming to us from a coal mine tonight, or what's going on?
No, why? What am I having a hard time? What, you can't hear me right or something? Or what?
I can only see the whiteness in your head.
It's very dark for wherever you are.
It's okay. I'll fix it. I'm a dark person.
You're fine. You're fine. It's very spooky. It's very omniscient. Whatever that word is. I don't do words tonight.
Atmospheric.
That's atmospheric. Omniscient. Is that a word? Whatever that word is. But anyway,
that word is brought to you by Miller Lite.
Yeah. Free advertising. But people only know me for being in the darkness anyway, so.
No, but tell you the truth, that is the perfect lighting for a show that is called Paradelphia. So what else can you do? So it's perfect lighting.
It is.
I mean, not for my sexy looks, but hey,
it's perfect lighting for that. Just trust me. Just go with it.
So we are days away from Valentine's Day, and what do we have? A show with three guys.
but see, Valentine's Day is always special because that day brought a beautiful soul to this world.
Valentine's Day. Oh, that's your birthday, isn't it? I forgot about that.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Jesus. Mm-hmm. Okay.
What? You're way off. But yeah.
I completely zoned it. Yeah, I forgot about that. That's your birthday.
Yeah.
What are you 26 today? This year or
26? Man, I don't even want to say. I'm halfway through my 30s. I'll be 35.
You're 35.
He's a baby.
Really?
Yeah,
he's a baby.
Like, what's going to happen when I hit 40, y'all?
You want us to both to start telling you that? Because I'm experiencing it right now. I can tell you.
Like me when I'm 40?
We will.
Listen, they're a worse thing.
You'll just share all of our pain that that Rick has gone through and that I'm going through right now. That's what you get to share with us.
I was going to say, what do we get? Do we get a nursing home or an insane asylum? You guys choose, and hey, we'll room and board.
I hit the big 5-0 about 2 weeks ago. So
yeah, I know. Like, man. Tell you what, and you look younger than the rest of us.
I still can't. I can't even fathom in my head that I'm 50 years old. It's like I say it and it's like I'm lying, like I'm making fiction up.
Well, and it's crazy because again, like even it's so true as you get older. Like when you're younger, you're like, oh yeah, my birthday's coming up. Like I think it was like a week ago. I realized like, man, my birthday's coming up. You just, right. I don't know if it's intentionally or what. You just forget.
After 21, there's nothing to look forward to anymore.
Well, no, they say 25 because your insurance rate's lower.
Who gives a shit about that?
Yeah. Who's putting that on the top of a cake? Who is doing that?
Yeah. Congratulations.
Happy 25th. Your insurance just went down.
Geico just saved you 50%.
Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. Oh, God. Hashtag old man jokes.
Yeah, right. All right. So, being as how it's only a few days before Valentine's Day, I figured I would do a show that had to do with Valentine's Day. But being Paradelphia, we're not going to just do the love and roses and all that mushy shit. We're gonna get into some nasty stuff. We're gonna get into some down and dirty, not so very nice side of Valentine's Day. All right.
All right.
So what I want to do here is I'm going to kind of run some of this stuff by you guys, because you guys don't know. I've been doing some research on this stuff today, and you guys don't know what I've been pulling up here, and I did that for a reason, because some of this stuff is it's either nasty or funny, depending on how you look at it, but it is interesting.
All right.
All right.
That's the best kind of stuff, right?
So the first article I came across was there's actually I'll do a little plug here for this on Twitter. They, you know how they do hashtags and they follow hashtags on Twitter.
Right.
That's how it works, right?
Right.
So on Twitter they have this hashtag that I follow every Thursday. It's called Folklore Thursday. And what they do is they put out, I think I mentioned this once or twice before on the show. Every week they give you a topic. It could be animals, it could be rocks, it could be sea creatures or whatever. And they put different stuff out every week, and everyone posts their own little blurbs or stories or links to articles that have to do with folklore, that have to do with that thing.
Okay. Wow.
So it's really interesting. Well, I've gotten some good stuff from the show, from that Thursday morning perusal of Twitter every week.
Just a few hashtags and you got a whole show.
Yeah, it's really good. You can do a whole show out of this shit.
Right.
So this week they had it. I'm not sure what the exact. I didn't see the tweet that gave the exact topic, but clearly reading through the post, it had something to do with love and Valentine's Day.
Okay.
Folklore having to do with love and Valentine's Day.
Right.
So they actually have a website called folklorethursday.com. And on there is where I got this particular article. It says it's the sinister side of Valentine's Day folklore. All right. So what this says is trying to divine the origins of Valentine's Day proves a little challenging. So Valentine's Day, that nobody's really sure where this even started or how it started. There's competing theories out there.
Oh yeah, there's a ton of story. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So some people believe that it's named for Saint Valentine, who was a priest that was conducting marriage ceremonies in secret.
Right. Yeah.
People who were not meant to be married, he would marry them anyway. And officials executed him once they found out he was doing these weddings. So his name became synonymous with, love and seeking out your true love, regardless of any of the obstacles and all that happy horse shit.
Technically, we're celebrating the death of, someone.
Yeah.
So, just like, that's just so us.
Yeah. So, but other people tend to think that it comes from this Roman fertility festival called Lupercalia. Now, if you guys remember back at the beginning of summer, we had Ron Murphy on talking about Dogman. And during the discussion about Dogman, he mentioned Lupercalia as one of the origins or possible origins of the werewolf and Dogman mythology. Because what this festival, it's held every year, or it was held during Greco-Roman times, between February 13th and February 15th. So it fits right into the time frame. And Pope Gelasius changed the festival's name in 496 AD, claiming that Saint Valentine refused Christianity. What's happening over there? You guys all right? We have
it's Doug. Whatever device Doug is using, every time he moves, it sounds like popcorn is going off.
We had like a drive-by shooting at Doug's house there.
And we lost his audio.
Oh, that's what I forget if I move stuff. It's like...
And we can't hear you.
We lost your audio, but we picked up Kelly. There she is.
Whatever your device is, if you move too much, it's going to crackle because, sorry to interrupt the show with this, but there's some kind of loose connection and it's going to go in and out.
All right, well, go ahead and continue. I'm going to fix it behind the scenes, but go ahead. I apologize. I'll fix it while we're going.
Do what you got to do.
Okay.
All right. So anyway, this went on between the 13th and 15th. The Pope at the time, Pope Gelasius, Gelatin, I don't know, whatever his name
I like
was.
Gelatin. Can we call him Gelatin?
Pope Gelatin.
He's the brother of Stay Puft.
He changed the festival's name in 496 because he claimed St. Valentine died refusing to recant his Christianity. So if that is true, the change removed all the pagan roots from the festival, but the festival itself was as follows. All right. So this is what the festival was. Lupercalia was written about by Plutarch, who was one of the people who wrote a lot of the history of Rome. And he wrote about a particular practice that involved young men running naked through the streets. They would carry bits of animal skin and try to whip women they encountered with this animal skin. Now, you would think this is a bad thing. However,
it sounds like it. It sounds like something Harvey Weinstein was doing on the set of some movies.
Right now, people, I can just see people listening to the show typing #MeToo.
Exactly. As they got whipped by the skin of rabbits.
Yeah. So you would think it was a bad thing. However, women actually sought this out. They came and they tried to find these young men running naked through the streets to be whipped by them.
Because they just want to be chosen. They just want to be the one.
And the reason was apparently being whipped with the skin from a sacrificed animal ensured fertility and easy childbirth. So this was the practice between the 13th and 15th of February every year in ancient Rome. This Lupercalia. So again, this idea was, like Ron Murphy said months ago in his appearance here. This whole thing started with it had something to do with a ritual that happened on a mountain. It had to do with a wolf. I forget the whole story, but the end result were these guys running through the streets with these skins. But the whole thing began earlier in the day or earlier in the week with this ritual or whatever they were doing up in the mountains there, and it all had to do with wolves and dogs, and that's what tied it into the Wolfman mythology. But at the end of the day, what we're talking about today is the potential for a love connection, or at least a fertility connection, that the ancient Romans believed in with this particular ritual. So that was one thing. Elsewhere, in these festivities, because the festivities, it was kind of like a carnival. They just did a whole bunch of shit that you probably wouldn't see these days in a regular carnival. Elsewhere, men and women would put their names into an urn, and then they would take turns drawing out a name. That person that you drew became your partner for the rest of the festival. So basically, it was like an early version of Tinder.
It gives shotgun wedding a whole nother meaning.
Swipe right, pick a name, and choose well, because
the whole time you're like, please don't let me get that one.
Yeah.
Get that one. And sure enough,
right. You just pulled the name. Oh, Jesus.
Right.
Wow. It's eye-opening when you hear about these things that happened back then. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's amazing what people will do. I mean, even today, and it just goes to show you centuries ago what people will do, just for love or companionship.
Well, I mean, how different is it from today?
That's what I mean, right.
I joked about Tinder, but really, is Tinder that far removed from this?
No, I mean, right. I mean, I even saw, I forget, it was on TV or it was like a news thing or something, how they have I guess it's almost like a Tinder, but it's like a one-night stand type Tinder or something like that. Like, I mean, it's almost like how when Craigslist came back or was back in the day. I mean, I don't know. To me, it's just all too creepy. You never know who you're going to get. You could end up opening the door and seeing someone like Mike. You know what I mean? Like hello. No, but I love you, Mike. But no, but seriously, like it's just. Yeah, I mean, it really isn't any different other than the technology, and you're able to connect a lot easier, on a wider range than people in the village, Yeah,
absolutely.
And it kind of, I guess it kind of shoots down this idea that there was all this romantic love going on back then, because it really doesn't seem like there was.
There was not. No, I hate when anybody tries to say there was some romantic love or chivalry or some shit like that. Like, I'm sorry. No, it was unadulterated. It was over the top. It was no holds barred. It was anything goes. It was no
like
consequences.
Party, like,
it was
yeah,
everything and anything. It was raw. It was sick. It was crazy. It was just ridiculous. I'm guaranteed if we had a time machine and went back then, we'd be like, wow. Because they didn't have like real I mean, they had like plays and entertainment like that, but literally that was like their biggest entertainment was doing that.
Right. And not only
Mike
that,
seems really committed to this narrative.
Oh, I am, because when you look at things with logical eyes and say, okay, this part of society back then in this era, what did they have? They had this, they had that. Well, okay, so you try to find, and you got to release these endorphins in your brain to feel happy, to keep going, to continue. And also you've got the whole thing that women are less than second class and men are the top and all this other stuff, like, and men are dogs, and you give men that kind of power back then. Of course they're whipping the girls with skins of friggin' animals. They sat around drinking alcohol, smoking peyote, and said, what do you want to do tomorrow, Dave? Let's whip them with this. But that's just the skin from the animal we just ate.
And that's what's crazy too. I mean, how it's such a roller coaster with it too, because when you go back centuries, and talking about these things, like, I mean, there was no, I mean, you had, men with men and women with women, and it was just an open thing. And then it all kind of went like backwards over centuries. Like, there was no, again, it was all just like, like you said, Mike, it was just a big pleasure fest.
The word you're looking for is orgy.
What's that?
The word you're looking for is orgy.
Oh, well, yeah, exactly.
Every single night. Just ridiculous.
Right.
I didn't want to say that on the show, but every single night. Because they didn't have cable. They weren't watching Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. They weren't watching WandaVision. Once the sun goes down, doesn't matter. You're backing up into things.
There was no Netflix and chill. It was like puppet show and chill.
Yeah, right.
Puppet show and chill.
Shadow puppets and chill. Right, yeah. Man. But yeah, I mean, again, like, and it went backwards because, then you get to a point, of course, you're talking centuries later, but when, like, television came out, and again, plays, like, you couldn't show anything from the waist down, or it was considered, pornography.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a whole other thing.
No, and I know, I'm just kind of meaning how the whole, like, roller coaster things went. Like, it's just, it all has to do with, everybody just wants someone to love them. Just love me.
Well, I mean, but was it that, or was there a more practical side to it? Because you got to understand, back then you didn't have, I mean, you had laws, but you probably didn't have laws to the extent you do today with regard to estates and protecting your money and protecting your goods.
Right.
So there was, and as far as if you were basically farming your own land for the most part.
Right.
You weren't going to the Acme or the ShopRite to pick up food. You were getting that off your land, and if you had acres and acres of land without a family to help you farm it, that wasn't going to last real long.
Right. Yeah.
So
it was a matter of life or death.
Huh?
No, it was a matter of life or death. I mean, if you didn't work, that meant your life. Right. You couldn't just take a day off or be lazy, and
right. And what I'm getting at is, having more children was beneficial to you in that regard.
Yeah.
You had workers.
Right. I mean, it's what it boils down to. You had sons, you had daughters, you had people to work your land with you. Yes, there was a cost to that. You had to raise them, and you had to, feed them and all that stuff. I get that there was a downside to that, but once they became old enough and strong enough to start, and it isn't like it is today. They weren't 18; they were like 6.
Oh yeah, they were self-sufficient, at 4 years old.
Right. Like if you're old enough to walk, you're old enough to go out in the field and pick corn or whatever.
6 years old. Here's a knife. Go skin that rabbit.
Yeah, we
if
joke.
Not, you're going to starve. Yeah,
like it's do or die, literally.
Right.
So you had you had a practical side, a practical reason behind all of this, the fornication going on. There wasn't time to be choosy. You want to live, you want to sustain your farm, you better get married. You better do it when you're a teenager, and start having kids pretty soon thereafter, so that you can keep up your farm. It was just really that simple. It was that cut and dry.
They didn't have time to go out and get a nice Valentine's Day card for their lady.
No. They whip them with skins.
You didn't get me flowers again?
Yeah.
Yeah, here, eat it. That's what's for dinner.
Yeah. Be like, listen, I picked this for you. Now can you go boil it for us?
Where's my chocolate? Shut up.
So there was also a superstition around this time regarding women who would believe that they would fall head over heels for the first man. Oh, I'm sorry, the man. I'm sorry. I got that backwards. The first man they saw on Valentine's Day, on the 14th, would fall head over heels in love with them. So these women would literally set up encounters with people that they wanted to fall in love with them. If Bob down the street was a hot guy and you wanted to get with him, you made sure you were right outside Bob's house when he walked out that morning.
God damn that Bob.
Or whatever, however it was.
Bob. Yeah.
But I mean, these were beliefs that and we talked about this at Christmas time, where they had all those different beliefs about people that would throw the chestnuts into the fire, and the first one that would pop would be this guy and that guy, and it all meant something in regard to relationships. Like, there was a lot of that going on back then.
Yeah, that's all you had to do was like come up with some kind of way that something works that could be completely bonkers, but you just tell somebody, no, this is what it is. And all you gotta do is be convincing enough. And you convince that person or convince that person. All of a sudden, next thing you know, the whole entire village believes this. It's crazy.
I mean, but you got to you got to think about the times. There was all that superstition, but there was superstition for a reason. People didn't understand science the way we do today. People didn't understand how the world worked as well as we do today. But they wanted some kind of control or seeming control over their lives.
Right.
What better way than to make up these superstitions and throw chestnuts on a fire, or stand out front of somebody's house on Valentine's Day because you were actively doing something.
Sure.
And you say, well, I tried. I made it. Regardless of whether that effort was in any way logical, didn't matter. If you believed it, then you believed you were making an effort.
Yep.
Yeah, it's people back in those days just believe about and again, we just said it a couple minutes ago, they still will just believe anything,
Yeah. So to go on with this article, it talks a little bit further about choosing a partner. So it says lots of websites discuss the choice of February 14th for Valentine's Day, and that derives from an apparent medieval folk belief that birds chose their mate for the year on that date. So people might give their partners a quail egg to signify romance, because they were supposed to enhance beauty and fertility. So there was this belief that birds mated for why they chose February 14th. I guess it was because it was spring, wasn't that far away, and they felt like birds just woke up with a calendar and said, oh shit, it's the 14th.
Or birds were really loud on that day, and they're like, what are they doing?
Better get myself in the ass today. Yeah.
They knew in 1986 the world would change. I mean, that's all I'm going to say.
I like that rationale behind it. I like that whole idea. It's love birds. It's a nice story that the lovebirds mated on that day. So the birds that chose their mate on that day, and that's why you show your love for your mate. I like that. I can buy into that. I like that as a story.
Or you're going to have a bunch of birds going around on Valentine's Day hoping to see some birds,
No. What I'm going to do is buy my lady a box of quail eggs.
There you go.
I thought you were going to say just a box of birds. Hey,
that could go one way or another, and I don't want it to go that way.
I mean, kill two birds with one stone.
I like the quail eggs thing.
I got a carton of a dozen in my fridge right now I could probably give out.
See?
I'm just saying.
Of birds?
We're creating we're creating a whole
not
nother
of birds.
tradition.
Quail
you know?
eggs.
So,
I don't think they're from quails, but they're eggs.
Yeah, oh, that's the thing. You just go for the pack of eggs you just bought from the shop, right? And just
Yeah,
go
right.
here.
All right.
And when your girl looks down at it, goes, "What is this?" I love you.
Right.
Don't you understand?
Don't you
That's all
understand?
that counts.
Yeah. All right. So this goes on to talk about some other mysterious spells and magic and beliefs that they had back at this time. So at the time that all this was going on, there was a thing called the Greek magical papyri. And this was a series of ancient spell books from Egypt that came about between the 2nd century BC and the 5th century AD. And it's kind of like a do-it-yourself magic ritual guide to finding solutions for all different problems. You find solutions for curing fever, for keeping calm, for demonic possession, and also for finding love. So what they found out through these what's it called? Greek magical papyri, depending on the lengths that your lover was willing to go and the level of lust or obsession that there was, some of the spells were simple and some of the spells were not so simple. All right. So, for example, one advertised as the irresistible love spell of attraction asked that the unlucky lover to use fish blood to write a spell. I'm sorry, I'm reading this wrong. Write a spell invoking demons on the skin of an ass. And I think they don't mean like someone's ass. They mean like a donkey.
Donkeys got so abused.
Before Mike chimes in.
Poor friggin' donkey.
Poor Eddie Murphy.
They must then wrap it in vetch, which was a plant with pink flowers, and hide it in the mouth of a recently deceased dog. All of these things.
That's a lot of steps.
Jesus Christ.
Look, yeah, if you want it bad enough, you got to find it.
But
so
it's a scavenger hunt. That's what that is. You just gave us a scavenger hunt.
I need a donkey, a recently deceased dog. I need blood. I need. All right. So it says most
the blood of a virgin. Get me it now.
Most spells required a special ingredient to be used in a specific way in combination with some arcane words. These spells don't leave archaeological traces for anybody to find, but there were, through oral history and some written down, they came down to us. One of the love spells asked the user to have an iron ring inscribed with, I'm trying to read this, Harpocrates, which was the Hellenic god of silence. Harpocrates, I think.
Harpocrates?
Harpocrates.
Hip Hop Anonymous?
Yeah, who was the god of silence.
Herpes Kratos.
Yes, Herpes Kratos. The god of silence. How are you the god of silence? Wait, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but that's a horrible thing to be the god of silence. Like, you've got a god of mischief, a god of war, a god of lightning. I'm the god of shh. Be quiet.
Well, look, at least you get peace. I mean,
that is true, and you have to sit in the last car on the train because that's the quiet car. But at least you're in there in peace.
Yeah, it's a peaceful existence.
Jesus.
So you got to inscribe this iron ring with Harpocrates, whatever her name was, seated on a lotus in their hands. Seated on a lotus in their hands. I think it meant with a lotus in their hands.
Next time we're going to ask Siri to read this, by the way.
Yeah, right. While they shouted,
how many phones light up? Sorry.
While they shouted magical words at the moon from a rooftop. Several such gemstones matching this description have been found. So apparently this was tried quite often. Love potions themselves have a long history, and they are discussed in several ancient texts. So a demotic spell proposed the following method. So this is a love spell from back in the Egyptian Roman times. Take a fragment of the tip of your fingernail and an apple seed together with blood from your finger. Pound the apple, add blood to it, and put it in the cup and put it in a cup of wine. Recite the spell 7 times over it, and you should make the woman drink it at a special time.
Because, it would be convincing to make a woman, drink.
Well, you don't tell her what's in it.
By the way, to all the listeners out there, you see how difficult all these little rituals and things that Rick is putting out there? That's why it's ingrained in us guys that it's so difficult to buy women Valentine's Day gifts. It's ingrained in us that it's going to be difficult and hard, and it's like a scavenger hunt to this day because of all this stuff that happened in the past. I just want to put that out there.
A simple card wouldn't do.
It wouldn't do. Yeah. You've got to go find the blood of this, pick a fingernail off. You got to kind of put it in a bowl, find a jackass down the street. You got to stab it with something, and then you're going to get the perfect gift. That's what we're learning here. You think you're just going to get away with a card and I love you, and you're not. You need to do a cartwheel and stab something.
Right.
We could get a bunch of hate mail from men, like, my woman now wants an ass for Valentine's Day. It's like, I don't know where that came from. Whatever. Anyway,
so there's actually a folklore belief that it's sort of like it sounds like a Valentine. I'm sorry, it sounds like a Halloween type thing, but it's actually done at Valentine's time. And what this is, let's see, this is what it says. It says, head to a cemetery the night before Valentine's Day. At midnight, run around the church 12 times. If you do it properly, your future lover will appear as a ghost.
Your future lover will appear as a ghost.
Right.
How many people
doppelganger,
How many people have actually read what you just read and then went out and done it?
How many people are doing it right now?
Do it right this second.
Right now.
Listen, all you know is you hear people you hear cemetery, midnight, ghost. Like, I mean,
listen,
hey,
if you're hard up, I mean, look.
guys, I have an idea for a TikTok. We go to a cemetery.
I thought TikTok had like an age limit, and like you couldn't be over 10 to be able to use it or something.
Why are you under 10?
Yeah, that was
I don't have a TikTok.
Are you under 10?
I honestly could say I don't have a TikTok. I have a clock, but that's about it.
Yeah, I don't do the TikTok
Both
thing.
Of you. I'm going to bring Rick into the world of TikTok. He's going to be obsessed. Next thing you know, he's going to be dancing in front of his phone. It's going to be a beautiful thing.
I see my friends doing this crap like with their daughters, like little 10-year-old daughters or whatever, and they're doing like dance moves and shit. And the daughter, and I'm just like, what do you do, dude? At one point, we were going out slamming beers and talking shit on sports, and now you're doing dances. Like, come on, man.
Next time you're in studio, I'm gonna take your phone. I'm gonna install TikTok. I'm gonna have you follow one guy. It's a guy who goes nuts over anything paranormal, anything extraterrestrial, and he does these short little videos always wearing a cheese hat. He is amazing. Yes! He is awesome. He is the best. You're going to love him, and you're going to be addicted.
Is he like a Packers fan? Is that why he's wearing?
I don't know. I have no idea. He just has a cheese hat on. He looks like he hasn't showered in 3 weeks, but he has great information.
Well, riddle me this. How is this different than YouTube?
This is different because it's easier to fall into the rabbit hole because all it is a short minute-long video, and then you scroll to the next. If you don't like that one, scroll. It's just your finger is flicking upwards, and you're getting brand new content each and every time. It is 100% the casino effect of watching something flick, and it creates it reacts to those receptacles in your brain that make you feel like you're winning something. So you keep on going, and then next thing you know, it's 1 o'clock in the morning, and you have to be up at 4 o'clock to go to work, and you don't know why you've been sitting there just watching people dance over and over again. God. And why is Howie Mandel on my friggin' TikTok? And I just went and followed him, and now I'm tired at work.
You know, I have got. It's so funny because about a week or two ago, I actually asked my daughters because they're all over TikTok. They're 11 and 9, and I actually brought it up to them. I was like, you know what? I think Daddy ought to create a TikTok. They looked at me like, Are you freaking serious? Like you like as I've become that part in my life where like my kids are like, no, don't do a TikTok. You're not cool enough.
A real
God.
a real dad would have done
like,
it and then found every trend that's on there and started doing it.
No.
We're gonna see Doug doing the dance move soon.
Yeah, right.
Oh,
exactly.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I can't wait. I'll follow. I'll follow.
Here's a hint to the world. A Pine Barren TikTok account. You know what I mean? Yeah, see? More to come.
Yeah, more to come. We'll talk about that later. So I want to get to this part because I was doing the research for this morning, and as interesting, and I say interesting in quotes, as all the rest of that information was, this was by far my favorite part of this whole the research I did in the whole show. So, and I was unaware of this until I read this morning. So apparently, not all Valentines were sweetness and light and love. There was this anti-Valentine movement that happened back. It started in the 1840s, and it ran through about 1920-ish, 20s, 30-ish. And these Valentines that were sent to people were called Vinegar Valentines, and they were supposed to be given to people, to be used by people who wanted to give the heave-ho to an unwanted suitor.
Okay.
So these Vinegar Valentines, all right, some of the early trolls, like call them trolls, used them in a more bullying fashion. They would send them to people they just didn't like, right? Just it had nothing to do with they were, a love connection. They just didn't like people, so they would send them these Valentines.
Screw you. Here's a vinegar. Anyway.
Yeah. Comic Valentines, which is what these were, accounted for half of all the Valentine Day cards during the 19th century. So these became very, very popular.
Really? Wow.
It fit into a wider pattern of anonymous cards that allowed people to tell somebody what they thought of them, from, salespeople to employers and so forth and so on. And, while some people might debate whether these should be considered folklore, the sending of them does derive from culturally acceptable traditions, like sending cards. So it's sort of the same thing. The practice fell out of favor back in the early 20th century. But basically what these cards were, and I have some, the one I showed, I put on my promo for the show today, was one of them on social media. I'll put some more up tonight. I'll throw some up on social media. But basically, these cards were ripping on people. Like
they weren't sweet. They were
they were little poems that would rip on people. And the best part of it was, like, Mike has a couple of these. Anybody viewing on Twitter or Facebook or anything, Mike's putting a couple of these up here. So they were caricatures that were drawn to make the man or woman look ridiculous. And then there'd be a poem. Usually it was a poem or a rhyme that went on the bottom of the card that would in some way rip on some aspect of that person's looks, personality, whatever.
You want me to read this one real fast?
Yeah, you want to read this? Go ahead.
Yeah. It says, a face that would stop a clock. In prison, you ought to be doing some time. For to wear such a face must be surely a crime.
Yes.
If you 'mongst gorillas had chanced to be born, they would have disowned you with loathing and scorn. For a monkey, no matter how homely and brute, when placed beside you, would be ranked as a beaut.
But see, it cracks up. That was a complete set of insult. But Mike, you actually made that sound incredible. Like I would have taken that as being sweet.
I do have a sexy voice. Thank you. I mean, I am bringing sexy back.
Yeah,
and the best part. Go ahead, Mike. Doug,
no. I was just going to say he's got a whole new career. Instead of phone sex, it's like phone insults. But go ahead.
And the best part of this was the way the mail system used to work back in the 1800s. Nowadays, if we want to mail a letter, we pay for a stamp. Right. We pay to mail it. But back then, the receiver paid to receive the mail.
Yeah.
The mail would show up, and you would have to literally pay like a penny or whatever it was to receive the mail. So basically, you were paying to be insulted.
Yeah, right. You know, I mean, either that or you just didn't get the rest of your mail and everything. So it's just like, you know, you're giving up money just to be, you know, called fucked up.
These are absolutely hysterical.
Yeah, here's another one. It says, homely. Handsome is as handsome does, which leaves a chance for you, since in appearance you are like a baboon in a zoo.
That is fantastic. Who needs Valentine's Day? Like, send these things like all year round and just nonstop. You know,
I got a little teary-eyed with that one.
Yeah, it was nice.
I don't know. Look, you know my personality. I don't know how I didn't know about these things till this morning.
I can't believe. Yeah, like I've never heard of
I've lived
either.
50 years of life and haven't known these things existed till today.
Especially like that. I mean, that's something that, like, you know, definitely I know, and I know you would. Yeah, you would have realized it right away. You know, like
I'm sending this shit out every year now.
I just say, make a Christmas card. You know, you're going to start your whole
Christmas, birthdays, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
like that is fantastic. Yeah.
Oh my God, these are funny. So those are some of the crazier, darker things that were done for love in the past. Mm-hmm. I'm sure there's a million other stories out there. Yeah, seriously, if you want to go and you want to look at this, the hashtag on Twitter, it's Folklore Thursday. You can't really, like, they kind of get lost in the shuffle after a while, so you have to do the hashtag and kind of look back on one particular week. If you do it today, that was just today's, so you can you know, today and tomorrow you can probably find it pretty easily. Mm-hmm. But it is cool. It's you talk about going down a rabbit hole and getting lost. Like, I get lost reading all these folklore things because I think they're so cool.
It's like the domino effect again. Like, you know, you read one and then that'll open up another one, and before you know it, it's like you got a whole line of them.
So, Mike, you were talking about TikTok and all that stuff a minute ago, and you said something about going down the rabbit hole and getting caught up in you know, swiping, spending all night swiping. Mm-hmm. And what I was thinking of was next week on the show, because next week on the show, we are going to have an author on, and he wrote a book called Screens. I'm trying to find his name here. It's Christopher, and I'm blanking on his last name right now. Shows how prepared I am for this.
So prepared.
Yeah, I'm always prepared. Christopher Lane. And he wrote this book called Screens. Mm. It's not out yet. They sent me his PR firm publicist sent me an advanced copy of this book, and I'm about halfway through it. It's really interesting. It's a fictional account, but it's got a lot of real world concerns in it. Wow. Basically, it's you know, not to give the book away or not to give next week's show away, but the book basically shows the dangers of overindulgence in technology. And it's got a lot of if you know H.P. Lovecraft, that he believed in, like, the world behind the veil kind of thing.
Yeah.
So apparently there is in this book, there is a world behind the veil of your computer screen or your cell phone screen, and there are creatures that want to suck the life out of you.
Whoa.
And they are. It's not hypothetical. It's not. What's the word I'm looking for here? I don't know. My words aren't good for me today either, but
both me and you.
Yeah, these are real creatures. So this is what this book is about. Mm-hmm. I'm, like I said, I'm about maybe halfway, about 2/3 through it at this point. I'll finish it by next week, and I want to have a discussion with Chris about his book, but also about the fact that there are some real world applications for this and real world concerns for this. Not that so much that there's creatures literally living in your phone, but in the way he describes people who are affected by these creatures in his story. If you look around and you see people just 1,000-yard stare, they're constantly staring into the phone, the impatience and the it seems like everyone's aggravated over everything these days. Like, that is a new thing that was not the case a few years back.
But have you watched the documentary? It's on Netflix right now, called The Social Dilemma.
The Social Dilemma? No.
So watch The Social Dilemma.
I've seen it advertised, but anyway.
Please, both of you, I'm dead serious. You guys are into social media. You understand it. You understand what's going on. Please go watch The Social Dilemma. It tells you the ins and outs of, because we all understand that big, huge corporations own these social media outlets. And at the end of the day, it's about getting users to use your platform. And they make a very strong statement in there, which is made before, that if you aren't paying for the product, you are the product. So we are the product. So for Twitter, for Instagram, for Facebook, we are the product. That's why we get to use it for free. But even further than that goes deeper and deeper and deeper into the people that are running it and their AI understanding your personal habits on there and creating that app to appease to your habits, which makes you go on it more. Going with that theory, and you talking about monsters within there, creatures, I think going forth, I don't think that's so far-fetched, but I think it's going to be in a different way. AI has come leaps and bounds to the point where they now have AI. AI is in social media with their algorithms.
Right.
Artificial intelligence dictates what you see, what you don't see, what is popular, what isn't. Artificial intelligence and this algorithm is doing that. And artificial intelligence is able to do way more stuff. I think that in the future, the creatures within there are going to be the artificial intelligence that was at one time man-made, but is now, we're going to get to the point where the artificial intelligence teaches itself different things, which it's doing right now, but on another level.
So this is like
right. It's 100% iRobot. It's 100%. I am self-aware. Skynet is self-aware. It literally is that, but that is the path that we're going. So the whole time you're talking about this, like, you're seeing it in that the author's perspective. But if you just take it and twist it a little bit, and take creatures to mean just AI, it becomes a real thing, and that creeps me out more than anything.
Yeah, right. But yeah, because again, AI, if it has the capabilities of, like you said, being taught, well, why can't it learn to, again, like you said, teach itself? I mean, it's
or two different AI entities or teaching each other.
There you go.
It really is. It really is.
Right.
Well, it'll be an interesting conversation. Definitely.
Also, and another thing that, and again, we'll discuss, obviously, but another interesting topic that I actually want to make some phone calls, and I think it'd be great to talk about, and even our listeners kind of wrap their head around, So, in a nutshell, obviously, what we know about, at least with my expertise, the ghosts, spirits and ghosts and everything, like, they need energy, obviously, to do and for us to see and all that, to basically experience them in our realm. And so you have this, obviously, we've been affected by, COVID-19, and it has quieted the world down tremendously. I mean, it's nowhere near as busy. I mean, there's scientists saying that they're getting readings of volcanic activity underground that they've never, had readings of before in locations. So ultimately, my question is what are, the thoughts of, could the lack of basically us being out and about and giving off our own energy in, like, haunted locations that are popular or been said to be really haunted, could our absence of energy make the activity people are used to experiencing less because the spirits don't have things to basically feed off of? Or is it kind of increasing the activity because, as we know, a lot of times, spirits have a purpose, whether it's to scare or because they're trying to make contact and reach out for whatever reason. How is COVID, in a sense, affecting that on, like, an energy level? Good.
I'm sorry, but you're saying that, so when COVID happened and we were on extreme lockdown, and we're still not, we're not on extreme lockdown, we're just not going out as much. I believe it was discussed, I believe it was discussed on this show, if I'm not mistaken, the fact that, animals were coming out more so. Animals were gravitating to places that they normally wouldn't go because there was too many people. And you saw deer on the beaches, and you saw animals coming out. It was very naturistic to see this happen. It was very cool. to see that, you know, human beings being so out there would cause these animals to kind of go away. So with respect to what you're saying, it's a difference of whether or not you think it is that whole nature and the whole being and the whole planet Earth and sun. If you believe it's a whole ecosystem, because I understand what you're saying, the energy of other people, but I think the energy of nature and the energy of silence could cause that to even come out even more, because now you've got that just energy of the planet, the energy of like I said, Mother Nature, and could make it even Skype go up even more, and we wouldn't even know it because we're not there.
And I agree with you. And you actually, you know, worded part of what I was trying to say perfectly. I agree 100%, because again, it's not primarily, you know, us, you know, as human beings. It's everything, again, like you said, as a whole, you know. And with that, I want to do some research and stuff. Like, I want to like call maybe a couple places, like, you know, a high haunted location, let's say Gettysburg, and just kind of be like, have you noticed activity maybe? And again, this is all just on like a ghost standpoint, you know what I mean? There's so much more, but like, ask, hey, are you maybe possibly experiencing maybe more activity than you ever had over the last year, or maybe less? And I just think it's an interesting concept. And again, like you said, energy all around. Like, we're connected all one way or another.
That data is going to be hard to get, because you'd have to have someone who was keeping constant tabs on these places.
Right.
And if you have,
these are just thoughts right now too, ideas, you know.
Yeah, like individual organizations that go in there are only there for a day, 2 days, or whatever.
Yeah,
so, I mean, unless you had the location itself that was running a daily temperature, EKG, not EKG.
Oh yeah.
What am I trying to say here?
Quail eggs.
EMF. You know, things like that. It's going to be tough to get that kind of data.
It is, and that's the thing too, because, you know, again, the investigating, you know, world has slowed down tremendously to where, you know, we really don't know, you know, people like in my field that do a study of this, we aren't fully aware of what kind of effect it has. And it's definitely something, you know, I'm interested in looking more into, but I kind of wanted to get, you know, a quick little idea, your thoughts on that whole, you know,
I mean, it's possible, yeah. I mean, I'd kind of be curious.
Like, is it making it better or worse, you know?
I'd kind of be curious to see when things open back up again and people start going back into these locations. Right. Are you getting the same frequency of contact? Are you getting different information?
Right.
Is anything different now than it was because you had this lull in physical activity in that location for a year or 2 years or whatever it's going to be? Like, that would be something that, you know, theoretically, if it was a place that somebody looked at very often, somebody investigated very often, and they went back there, they could compare data sets with what they had prior to COVID.
Exactly.
I'm shocked that you said that paranormal investigators has kind of died down, because it seems
not
like
so much. Go ahead, sorry.
Well, my thought process, and maybe this is correct, maybe I'm wrong. My thought process is it's one of the few things that you can do where you literally go up and set up in multiple rooms, and then people socially distance in different rooms with walkie-talkies and talk about the experiences they have.
Right, and you're right, and not so much again that you know, like die down or lost. It's again, it's much like anything else, you know, to where you have this fear. Now, granted, if somebody's is experiencing enough to where they need help, they're going to reach out, but it's just that general fear of having someone come into you know, your home, even if it's one of those deals you want an investigation just for basic knowledge.
Yeah,
you know, it's kind of been a slowdown with things like that. But
the investigation itself is socially distanced, but the setup for the investigation is not socially distanced.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
gotcha.
Right.
That's the problem.
I've never set something up like that, so I'd have no idea. But I totally understand what you're saying.
Hey, I had you in on an investigation once. You got freaked out.
Yeah, but that was only me and you, and it was awkward. It was in my bedroom, and you told me that you
don't forget to shower.
You kept on telling me I'm getting a reading, and I said stop doing that.
Yeah, well,
I promise that's a ghost.
Yeah, right.
I felt something. It was a ghost.
It was a ghost.
Yeah.
Why are you
Like, don't
behind
worry
me?
about it. I've been doing this a long time. Just trust me, Mike.
All right. Well, on that note, we're going to wrap things up for the evening. But I want to thank Doug and Mike for coming out and
Absolutely.
pre-Valentine's Day show with us here. And like I said, next week we're going to have Chris Lane on, and he's going to be talking about his book Screens. And then toward the end of the month, we are trying to work out something for Paul Peterson, who was on about 4 years ago talking about the legends of the Pine Barrens. We're going to have him back on the show toward the end of the month. And maybe we're going to be doing some other stuff with Paul that we haven't yet figured out, but we're trying to work towards that.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have,
every day I come up with things in my mind. It's exciting.
Maybe have some announcements for some future projects here with Jumps in Paradelphia.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. So it's been a fun night. Happy Valentine's Day. Happy weekend. I'll see you next week. I'm Rick. That's Doug. Mike is behind the curtain. And we are Paradelphia, and we are out of here.
Good night, y'all.